Hi, my name is Wong, and this is the new Olympus OMD E-M5 Mark III. I want to invite you to come along with me and do some shutter therapy with this camera. Let's do this. Before we move on further with the E-M5 Mark III, here are some important disclaimers first. I am an Olympus Visionary and ambassador to the Olympus brand. I don't own this camera, it is not on sale yet. The E-M5 Mark III was on loan from Olympus Malaysia and will be returned after this review. This is a user experience review, therefore there will be no technical analysis, no comparisons, no graphs, no charts whatsoever. This will be perfectly based on my user experience shooting with the E-M5 Mark III throughout the review sessions. The E-M5 Mark III is designed to be compact and light. It is definitely much smaller in comparison to the E-M1 Mark II and of course the E-M1X. To make the camera as light as possible, instead of using magnesium alloy construction, which was used in the E-M5 Mark II, this new E-M5 Mark III is fully made of plastic. When I first heard about the plastic construction, I wasn't very convinced, but holding the camera in my hand, it does feel very solid and reassuring. There are no creaky parts, everything feels like a block, and it is very, very well constructed. And I can understand Olympus' move to make it really light. It feels so good in hand and you can hold it single-handedly with ease. And I have a feeling that the light construction was made specifically for vloggers in mind. Looking at the design of the camera, it still looks like an E-M5 with the sharp hump at the top and the plethora of dials and buttons all around the camera body. I really appreciate the fact that there is a dedicated ISO button, which is right at the thumb rest area. The quick switch function 1 and 2 is still around, however now it is much more stiffer and it's more difficult to accidentally switch it. I was one of the few to complain about this and I'm glad that Olympus listened and fixed this issue. The front gripping area for the hand is now much more substantial and deeper in comparison to the previous E-M5 cameras, and the thumb hook is also more pronounced. There is a single memory card slot for UHS 2 high-speed card. I know this may be an issue for some people, but hey, they're trying to make this camera as small as possible. You can't have it a small camera with a complete list of features. There will be some things that you have to take out. And I'm okay with just a single card slot of this camera. The E-M5 Mark III uses a BLS 50 battery, which is similar to the one found in E-M10 Mark III. Again, you can see the decisions that Olympus made with the batteries, the single card slot, with the plastic design. All these are to make the camera as small and as light as possible. Now, I'm not a fan of this battery. I know that this is not the longest lasting battery that Olympus has. I'm so used to E-M1 Mark II's larger battery capacity, as well as the percentage indicator, which was very accurate. Now, we don't have the percentage indicator in this camera, and we are stuck with a smaller capacity battery. A lot of you are asking for a compact micro four thirds form factor, which everyone claims what micro four thirds should be. So I think the E-M5 Mark III is a perfect fit to that category. Overall, I feel that the ergonomics of the camera is great. It feels solid in hand. It's very comfortable holding the camera. Being such a small and compact body, it works really well with all the Olympus compact prime lenses. The 12 f2, the 25 1.8, the 45 1.8, they all fit perfectly with the camera's form factor. And I like the shutter sound of the E-M5 Mark III. It is softer than the E-M1 Mark II and the E-M1X. It is sounded more well-rounded and dampened. It's like a soft thud instead of clacks. Beautiful. Before we dive deep into the E-M5 Mark III specifications, let's do some inside macro photography. The E-M5 Mark III has the exact same image sensor found in the E-M1 Mark II and E-M1X. It is also using the same Tropic 8 image processor. Therefore, I'm not expecting any difference when it comes to image quality. We should get exactly the same as what we get from E-M1 Mark II and E-M1X. The autofocus system in the E-M5 Mark III is also borrowed from the E-M1 Mark II. Yes, now we have face detect autofocus built onto the image sensor itself, allowing to faster and more reliable continuous autofocus tracking performance. We all know how much more improved the autofocus in the E-M1 Mark II is after the firmware upgrade, and the E-M5 Mark III is having the exact same autofocus performance. Although the body is no longer magnesium alloy, Olympus maintains the full weather sling for E-M5 Mark III. It is fully splash-proof, dust-proof, and freeze-proof down to -10 degrees Celsius. Here is an important thing to note about the electronic viewfinder. Although the resolution is the same with the E-M1 Mark II, 2.36 millions dot. However, the magnification is smaller. Instead of 1.48 times in E-M1 Mark II, in the E-M5 Mark III, it is 1.3. Some may be put off by the smaller size of the viewfinder, but I've used this camera in a lot of shooting conditions. I've shot this on the street, I've done inside macro, I've also shot birds as well as a tennis tournament with this camera on the electronic viewfinder, and to me, the size, yes, is noticeably slightly smaller, but it's still very comfortable for me to view, and especially I'm using spectacles, it means that I can see the entire frame. What's really important to me about the electronic viewfinder is it is virtually lag-free. The response was so fast that when I was shooting sports, I was shooting fast action tennis, I didn't see any delay, or I can shoot the action as it happens. To me personally, there's more important than having a high resolution electronic viewfinder with a slight delay. So when I panned the viewfinder left and right, the view was perfectly smooth. There was completely no jerkiness at all, unlike some which I've noticed in other brands. Like all Olympus OMD cameras continuing the tradition, the E-M5 Mark III has built-in 5-axis image stabilization, and Olympus claims 5.5 stops of shutter speed compensation effectiveness. This is similar to what we get from the E-M1 Mark II, which is quite incredible. The maximum burst sequential shooting for the mechanical shutter is 10 frames per second, and for silent shutter or electronic shutter is 30 frames per second. In the E-M1 Mark II and E-M1X, the Pro Capture High allows you to shoot 60 frames per second, which is insane, but in the E-M5 Mark III, it is cut down to 30 frames per second. All the amazing Olympus features that made Olympus OMD system great, such as live composite, focus stacking, 50 megapixel high resolution shot, they are all still available in the E-M5 Mark III. Also, the E-M5 Mark III uses a new dust reduction system on the sensor, which is similar to the one found in E-M1X, which is currently Olympus claimed the most effective in the industry. It shakes at about 30 Hz to prevent the dust from sticking onto the image sensor. There is also Wi-Fi with Bluetooth connection built in, and there is a USB charging. Now, don't get too happy. Yes, we get USB charging. We can charge the battery in the camera with our power banks on the go. However, it is not USB-C, it is micro USB. Why, Olympus? Why not USB-C? That was a long list of specifications to go through. Enough of talking, now let's have some shooting action. I was privileged to shoot the ITF, International Tennis Federation, a junior circuit happening in Selangor about 1 week ago. I brought the E-M5 Mark III and the Olympus 300 f4 Pro lens, and let's see what we get from that session. Shooting the tennis tournament was perfect to test the handling of the E-M5 Mark III. Of course, this camera by itself is not designed to handle such a long lens like the 300 Pro or 40-150 Pro. If you are using these lenses, I highly suggest that you get the external camera grip that comes with the E-M5 Mark III. However, Olympus didn't provide me with that camera grip. I was using the E-M5 Mark III by itself, so I was only relying on the default hand gripping area of the E-M5 Mark III. Using the camera for about 3 to 4 hours shooting the tennis tournament, I had no issue handling such large lenses like the 300 Pro. I didn't feel any strain on my wrist, on my neck, on my shoulders. I was constantly moving around to get different shots. And yes, everything felt really comfortable, and I have no issue using the E-M5 Mark III with the 300 Pro lens. Now, earlier on, you have seen that I've also tested the E-M5 Mark III in the inside macro shooting environment. When I do my inside macro, I hold the camera with the macro lens with one hand and the flash with the other. I was shooting the inside macro single-handedly. If you have done inside macro photography in the wild, you will know how difficult it is to get the shot. The insects don't stay in good positions. They hide underneath the leaf. Sometimes you have to squat and stand in impossible positions to get the shot. Considering that I was holding this camera with one hand, I feel that the light and compact form factor of the camera really helped, and at the same time, the comfortable handling of the camera made the shooting such a breeze. So yes, the E-M5 Mark III survived my 2 testing, shooting sports with a large lens, as well as my inside macro, which was actually the ultimate test for handling of any cameras. When it comes to image quality, the E-M5 Mark III is a huge step up from E-M5 Mark II. I can easily see more than 1 stop advantage when it comes to dynamic range, as well as almost 2 stops of advantage when it comes to high ISO shooting in dark environment. I'm expecting the exact same image output from the E-M1 Mark II and the E-M1X because the E-M5 Mark III uses the identical image sensor and image processor. In terms of image sharpness, as usual for Olympus OMD cameras, it has always been sharp and you get a lot of fine details from the 20 megapixel image sensor. I have no issues with dynamic range. Typically, this is sufficient for most of the things that I do, but I don't shoot extreme landscapes where you have super bright areas and super dark areas within a frame. So your mileage may vary. I have nothing more to add about the image quality. I am still currently perfectly happy with what my E-M1 Mark II can do for me. I'm shooting with the E-M1 Mark II professionally, and my clients never complain once about the image quality in the images that I deliver to them. In fact, a lot of them are very happy with my images. So having those same performance in the E-M5 Mark III, I am perfectly happy with what the E-M5 Mark III can do. When it comes to autofocus, we get the exact same autofocus performance from the E-M1 Mark II and E-M1X. Single autofocus is fast and snappy, it is very reliable. However, I am not a sports shooter. I don't use continuous autofocus frequently, therefore I'm not the best person to test the CAF performance. However, I also realized that if I don't mention anything about continuous autofocus, I will definitely get some flack from everywhere. This has happened before. Now, I don't understand. I see some review sites when they test the continuous autofocus, all they did was get their friend to run around randomly and expect the camera to track that friend. Of course, the camera is going to do a good job. And seriously, your friend running around randomly is not enough to torture the camera. That is far from what we encounter in real life situation, say shooting an actual sports event. Therefore, I took the E-M5 Mark III and I shot a tennis tournament, which was an International Tennis Federation's junior circuit, and it was happening in Selangor recently. And to be fair, the E-M5 Mark III with the 40-150 and 300 Pro, the camera and the lenses perform well. Using the cluster autofocus with continuous autofocus, I was able to track the movement of the players anywhere in the court, and if I miss any shots, it is not the camera's fault, it is my own fault. I don't think I'm qualified to give any further assessment when it comes to continuous autofocus. I'm sure there are other sports photographers who may be keen on testing the E-M5 Mark III and give a better assessment, but hey, Olympus never claimed that E-M5 Mark III is designed for sports shooting. Keep that in mind. Next, I want to talk about the image stabilization effectiveness of the 5-axis IS in the E-M5 Mark III, as well as the low light shooting performance. But before that, let's take the E-M5 Mark III out and take some more photographs. Come with me. The 5-axis image stabilization in the E-M5 Mark III is incredible. I can easily handle 5 seconds long exposure shots with no issue whatsoever and don't even have to prop my body or lean against anything. And I can confidently shoot 5 seconds shutter speeds with wider angle lenses, of course, like 7-14 or 12 f2 or 12 to 40 mm lens at the 12 mm end, of course, with no issue again and again. However, using the 12 to 100 on the E-M5 Mark III, using the 5-axis Sync IS where the lens image stabilization is working hand in hand hand with the camera's 5-axis image stabilization, I could handhold down to about 15 seconds. Yes, you heard that right, 15 seconds. But I cannot do this all the time. The 5 seconds is something that I can do confidently and repeatedly. Olympus claims that image stabilization effectiveness is about 5.5 stops, which is the same from the E-M5 Mark II, and perhaps both cameras are using the exact same image stabilization unit. Besides wide-angle shooting, the image stabilization also benefits telephoto lenses, and I've brought the 300 and 40-150 lens out to shoot the birds, which we will see very soon. In terms of high ISO shooting in low light conditions, I don't see any difference from what I get from the E-M5 Mark II. I think the camera gives you the exact same results, and I would stay about ISO 3200 maximum, and in emergency cases I will push up to ISO 6400. And if you do shoot at such high ISO numbers, please be careful not to underexpose your shots. Everyone has different tolerance when it comes to high ISO. Some people, when they look at some grains at ISO 400, they'll cringe, but hey, to me, my limit was ISO 3200. When it comes to the battery life, I could squeeze about 1,500 shots shooting the tennis tournament in a span of about 4 hours before the battery starts blinking red. It wasn't empty yet, it was just blinking red. Well, if you are a professional photographer or if you're doing anything serious about photography, when the battery blinks red in the indicator, you will start replacing another fresh, fully charged battery. So I managed to get 1,500 shots from shooting tennis. However, that was because I was using a lot of high sequential bursts. I was shooting at 10 frames per second. So the only other time that I fully drained the battery was when I was out shooting the birds. When I was shooting the birds, I was using a 300 Pro lens, which was a large lens, and the battery life that I get was about 500 shots. Now to me, this is a huge step down from the E-M5 Mark II. Easily from E-M5 Mark II's battery, I can get almost double, if not more, from what the capacity of this small battery can give me. Besides the smaller battery capacity, I'm not happy to use the single touch screen which Olympus includes in the E-M5 Mark III. It is 2019. Every other touch devices, we have multiple touch operations. We can certainly benefit with multiple touch on the screen. We cannot even pinch to zoom with the E-M5 Mark III's playback review. I would also love to see the My Menu implementation, a customized menu such as the one that is available in the E-M1X. Why don't we have that in E-M5 Mark III? That would be awesome. So, who is the Olympus OMD E-M5 Mark III for? We know that the Olympus E-M1 Mark II and E-M1X are the flagships of the Olympus OMD series, and these cameras were designed for professionals in mind. However, I feel that the E-M5 Mark III is not designed specifically for professionals, but if you want professional features in a camera, you can get the exact same features in the E-M5 Mark III as well. Instead of having a larger, bulkier body, Olympus has packaged all the features into a tiny, compact form factor. So the E-M5 Mark III really, the way I see it, is a mini E-M1 Mark II. If you are a professional photographer, I think you'll appreciate the larger grip and hand-holding area of the E-M1 Mark II and the larger battery capacity of the camera. Of course, you also treasure the magnesium alloy, much more robust build of the E-M1 Mark II and the E-M1X. The E-M5 Mark III is designed with portability in mind. You can easily hold this with one hand, you can move it around, you can chuck it in the back, and you don't really feel the weight. And if you are a vlogger, you can easily hold the camera with one hand and you barely feel the weight at all. So if you are stepping up from the Olympus EM10 series cameras or the EPL series camera, and you want to figure out if you want to get the EM5 series or the EM1 series, then ask yourself, which one is more important? Ultimate reliability and performance, or smaller and lighter form factor? If you travel a lot, if you are a content creator, I think the E-M5 Mark III is a much more suitable camera for you. I know that I didn't touch on the video capabilities of this camera. I was told by Olympus that the video shooting features are similar to what you can find in the E-M1 Mark II. I will do a separate YouTube video on the video features itself, and the video will be up in a few days. So please stay tuned for that. But also bear in mind that I am not a cinematographer, I'm not a videographer. I'm still new when it comes to recording videos, but I am a professional photographer, so that's why this review is more photography centric. I hope you found this review useful, and I hope you've enjoyed looking at my photographs shared in this video. When the E-M5 Mark III is on sale, I will definitely nab one for myself. I think the E-M5 Mark III with its lighter and compact form factor is the ultimate street photography camera. This will be my next best shutter therapy machine. If you have questions about the E-M5 Mark III, please leave them in the comments below. I will try my best to get back to you. And I'll be making a few more videos related to this camera coming up really soon. Until then, please remember to go out and take more photographs. Bye-bye.